K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
Wondering why you're up early with us on a Sunday morning making a cocktail? News lately got you drinking? Hung over from the mainstream media by Sunday? We are, and we got you covered.
We sure do. We got your hangover cure for those weekly news blues. So sit back, top off your mimosa, and add some Baileys to that coffee.
Take a match to your copy of the New York Times. Light, funny, and oh yeah, news with booze.
And a lot of laughter.
Welcome to Bloody Marys and Broadsheets. And a good, easy Sunday morning to all my political freaks, geeks, and back alley sneaks. It's Sunday, August 16th, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That means it's time for JD and Stacey and Bloody Marys and Broadsheets, baby, your cure for your mainstream media hangover here on K98 Talk. Everybody right now, get over to K98Talk.com, get in the chat room, say hello to Stacey. I know Slick has got to be in there, baby, because he gets up early, starts polishing them guns, and gets in that chat room. Today, folks, it's going to be a crazy-packed hour, but we are bringing you a very, very special guest this morning, Mr. Rick Shafton. He is a political pollster and president of Neighborhood Research and Mountaintop Media. He really is going to be able to put what you guys are seeing out there in context. He's a veteran of decades and decades and decades of political work. After that, Stacey and I are going to call the Donald. Yes, we are. Trump's taking our call this morning, guys.
Then we'll be talking lightning round.
Lightning round. I think Modo might be on it as well.
Yeah.
Then we're going to be talking NBC and the media pay for play. Hannity be clowning himself with Ann Coulter and Charles C.W. Cook. Ugh. Airbnb goes Stephen King style, baby. I kid you not. And so much more. Remember, kids, you don't just find us here Sundays at 11 a.m. You find us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live for Game On. Thursday nights again, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard for Game On. And when you're not listening to Stacey and I 3 nights a week, go to Spreaker.com, hashtag, what is it, Stace?
JD and Stacey.
JD and Stacey, JD and Stacey,
Yeah,
JD and Stacey.
I got it.
Finding the catalog of all the great things that we have done. So, good.
That's actually my speed this morning.
Well, that's, you know what? I'm glad you made that transition there, baby girl, because I wanted you to start the show telling the audience how you are coming along, because whether it's on social media or whatever, people are asking all the time, so just let everybody know how's it going, how you feeling, what.
I feel like I've been hit by a truck.
I give you that kind of setup for love on a Sunday morning, and that's what you give me. You absolutely suck. Take another pain pill.
And I'll take another pain pill. In all seriousness, guys, thank you for all the well wishes and prayers and checking in. I really do appreciate it. Things are progressing. I got a good doctor, getting good treatment, and I'll be back shortly to 100%, but no real time frame at this point. So.
And just remember, her 100% is always.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.
Seriously. Seriously. I'm about to get all kinds of chat room sympathy.
Oh, okay. Listen, we got.
I was thinking more. Okay, terrific.
We have a lot of politics and.
Okay, terrific.
Okay, terrific on tap for you. But before we do that, kids, you know what time it is. It is time for. Your weekly update. What is it? Your weekly weekend update brought to you by that Mr. Eric Williams of that Bob Wire Satire.com, baby. A poll this week found that a majority of Americans want Congress to reject the Iran nuclear deal, which means Republicans McConnell and Boehner must be getting ready to rush approval of the deal to the president's desk for his signature.
Privacy laws were rewritten this week after Hillary Clinton finally agreed to turn over her private email server to the corrupt DOJ. So going forward, when faced with having to turn over private material to a government agency, everyday Americans will be able to invoke the Clinton Clause, which allows them 6 months to scrub any and all incriminating details from their computers before handing them over.
The Daily Mail reported that the world's population is expected to hit 9.7 billion by 2050. The news caught the White House off guard, and reports say that President Obama was scrambling to put plans into place after he leaves office to get all those people into America.
At a campaign event this week, Mrs. Clinton said the small crowd that she loves Snapchat because things just disappear all by themselves. Now we know Hillary's favorability ratings have been going to Snapchat, too.
She is an awful piano leg thief.
She is awful retail politician.
The Einstein of our time, John Kerry, told the committee this week that he doesn't believe Iran means to destroy America, despite their leaders chanting death to America repeatedly over the years. Maybe he'll change his tune after they set off a nuclear bomb. Guess it depends on what your definition of death is.
If anybody out there is hopeful that Hillary will finally be brought to justice with the handing over of her private server and thumb drive, don't hold your breath. In addition to wiping the server clean, the hardware is now in the hands of Loretta Lynch's Department of Inaction, and the place where all evidence on high-ranking Democrat goes to be permanently wiped clean.
And that is your weekly weekend update for August 17th, 2015. That was brought to you by Mr. Eric Williams of the BarbWireSatire.com, and probably only he realizes that JD read his weekend update from like 3 weeks ago. I had the wrong one open. My printer ran out of ink last night. I swear to God. I was like, oh, no.
Good morning.
Oh, my God. That deserves a...
Okay, terrific.
Okay. So, everybody in our audience listens to this show because they're political geeks, sneaks, back alley freaks. And they know that right now it has been absolutely nothing but an unmitigated... So, because Stacey and I love our audience so much, without further ado, I would like to bring on a political pollster, professional, folks, Mr. Rick Shafton. He's president of Neighborhood Research and Mountaintop Media Companies that provide polling and media for conservatives with guts to win. He's worked in political campaigns since he was 10 years old, volunteering for Richard Nixon and working through his teen years for conservative candidates John Markey, Jim Buckley, Barbara Keating, and Ronald Reagan. At age 23, he was elected Conservative Party district leader for the Northeast Bronx. I didn't know you were from the Bronx. I went to Fordham. We have to talk later. Running from Morris Park to Co-op City Island, Pelham Bay, and Throgs Neck. He was my thing when I was up there. Neighborhood Research is a public opinion research firm specializing in highly targeted data analysis and in-depth interviews that use open-ended questions to find issues and create unique media strategies. And Mountaintop Media does a whole bunch of the same. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Rick Shafton. Good morning, Rick.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being with us. I didn't know you were a Bronx guy until I just read that.
Yeah. Escaped like everybody else.
Did you go to Fordham or Manhattan
Then I went to New Jersey because I thought it was a low-tax state, and I called that one wrong. So now I'm out of New Jersey.
Bronx, New Jersey, not much of a difference.
Well, Rick, we're super happy to have you this morning. Is because JD and I are about as confused as anybody else when we're looking at some of these polls and things that are being published. This morning, one came out specifically, the Fox News poll. And, part of what we'd like to get to today really is how do you know if what you're looking at is good information or bad information when you're seeing all these web-based polls? How good are they? How can they replicate appropriate methodologies, or are they just popularity contests?
This one was a telephone poll, the Fox News poll, I believe. There are a few that did come out right after the debate that were internet polls of some kind, and they're not exactly accurate, but interestingly, they were not as wrong as a lot of us pollsters would like to say they are, because it did catch two things. It caught that Carly Fiorina got a surge, which no one really was surprised at. And then it caught that Ben Carson got a surge, which I think did surprise a lot of people, because for those of us who have been following the race, it wasn't like he was particularly impressive. He got a lot of softball questions, which don't really help a candidate. The candidates help more by tough questions. I mean, Donald Trump, I thought, had more opportunity than anybody else because he got tough questions. But a lot of people saw Ben Carson for the first time Thursday night, a week from Thursday night, and they got a positive impression of him. So he got a little bump. I don't think it's going to last. But there are certain trends that are occurring, and so no matter methodology flawed or not, you're going to catch trends, especially if you're comparing apples to apples. In other words, a poll with a flawed methodology to another poll with a similar flawed methodology. The difference between the two will be an accurate trend, because it just is comparing apples to apples, even if they're bad apples, if that makes any sense.
Rick,
sure.
What we're seeing here is that Carly Fiorina has certainly surged, and that Ben Carson surged. To what degree, it doesn't really make a difference, because all these national polls only mean one thing. Are you in the top 10 for the next debate? That's all they mean. They don't really mean anything else.
Right.
And it looks like that Chris Christie ain't going to make the cut, the way things are going.
Rick, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a couple of steps back. If you could actually give the audience a little flavor and picture of what brought you to politics, to volunteer at 10 years old, as you came into politics, how you got into polling, and to me the most important thing, after you give a little background to the audience, is as far as polling goes, what should they be looking at and for and not hyperventilating about at this point in the race?
Well, I have a whole bunch of questions. I mean, the thing with polling is if your sample is drawn properly and your callers are impartial and your questions are fair, you'll always get the correct answer. So, there's a whole lot of questions. Well, who do they call? Do they call? You'll see polls that say all adults, which means they just randomly call phone numbers, and whoever picks up the phone gets surveyed. Whether they're a voter, a citizen, a non-citizen, or an illegal alien really makes no difference. Those are all adults polls. They're done to get whenever you see an all adults poll, it's designed to get a left-wing response. Then you'll have a registered voter poll. It's a little narrower. They call randomly, but then they ask, are you a registered voter? And then there's likely voter polls where they ask, are you likely to vote in the upcoming Iowa caucus or whatever? But in a national poll, you really can't ask, are you a likely voter? Because what are you voting in? Are you voting in a caucus? Are you voting in a primary? It's hard to really say that on a national level. That's why national polls for president for political types are less significant. But with this new format, with the top 10, they're totally significant, because that's what determines whether you're kind of in the playoffs or not. You know, where you sit at the kids' table. And I got into polling. Our main business is TV and radio, advertising and social media, but mostly TV and radio. And but to do that properly, we need polling. And almost 30 years ago, I hired Dick Morris to do a poll for a campaign, and the data was all fake. I mean, he made up everything. It was totally fake data.
Really?
And it was fake data.
Does he still have a reputation for that, Rick?
Brother wanted data to show that we were winning the election, which was not happening in that particular race. I mean, maybe we could have been competitive, but we weren't winning. But somehow a poll came out showing us up by 5 points. Well, that's great news, except that it was just totally at odds with reality. We ended up getting about 28% of the vote. And the whole thing was fake, and I still have the data. But I looked at that and said, well, if I have to rely on the data, at least I'll know that it's good or not. And plus, why do I want to pay other people to do it? It's not rocket science. The biggest cost in polling is your labor cost, because you have to get someone on the phone. You have to get them to say, yes, I'm a likely voter. I'm going to vote in the Iowa caucus next February. My chances are definite or very likely. And then you have to get them to stay on the phone and answer 20, 30, 40, 50 questions, however long you're making the survey. Then you have to have callers that can get details out of them. So it's like, oh, you like Donald Trump, or what do you like about him?
Right.
And then what I want to find out is, in their own words, what do you like about Donald Trump? Or what do you dislike about Donald Trump, or Ted Cruz, or Jeb Bush, or Lindsey Graham, whoever it is, right? And so I don't really care as much, oh, you're favorable or unfavorable. Well, why are you favorable to someone? And that tells you the depth of their support. And an interesting issue is Common Core, right, which we poll on a lot. So you're for or against. Have you ever heard of Common Core, and are you for or against it? That's pretty much our question. And it's amazing how many people do know what Common Core is, right? But then here's the fun part. We ask people who are for Common Core, what do you like about Common Core, why you support it? We need standards, kids have to learn, something must be done. It's kind of generic, vague answers. But when you talk to people who are against Common Core, they can give you paragraphs. I mean, my callers, we give them 200 characters, they run out of room. People are just like, they know all about it, and they know what it is, and they don't like it. And the reason that even Common Core supporters like Mike Huckabee and Jeb Bush, and not Jeb, but Mike Huckabee and Chris Christie, you give Bush credit, Bush is staying on that. But Christie and Huckabee are all suddenly supposedly against Common Core when they've been supporting it for years, because they see the intensity on it. And intensity is what you look for, more than just the numbers. So you have to. There's two types of polls. There's polls for media consumption, which are the ones that we're talking about. The polls that we do, I don't produce surveys for media consumption. I don't even like good data release. I produce surveys for internal use, so that we know. See, politics is not about convincing people you're right. It's convincing people they agree with you. So I want to find the shortest distance between 2 points. I don't need to educate people on the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I just need to know if they have any idea what it is and whether they like it or not, and why they like it or don't like it, to pick an example. If they have no idea what it is, whether it's good or bad is irrelevant, because I'm going to have to spend time educating people about what it is. So I like to find things that people are already aware of, and then link things to that, which makes it much easier. So Common Core has now become a symptom of Obama Core. So you can tie it to Obamacare and Obama Core and every other silly thing that this administration is doing. And then for conservatives who are in primaries against liberal Obama enablers, or moderates, so they call themselves, it's important to find the issues that really resonate with people, so that you don't have to spend as much time selling, and people say, yes, I'm for you. And then you can go on and do other things. So I want to find out what's the shortest distance between 2 points, and where can we reach our voters? What do they listen to on the radio? Where's that on the dial? Is that AM or FM? When do you listen to that? I want to know what TV news they watch. I want to know where they go, if they go to religious services, and what church they go to. I don't want them to tell me their religion. I don't care if they say they're Protestant. I want to know if they go to the First Baptist Church or the Assembly of God Church or the the United Methodist Church on Main Street. I want to know exactly where they go. I want to know where they shop for groceries and get a profile so that the candidate can know. It allows them to be more efficient and to target their message and be more effective as a candidate. But that's of no interest to people watching Fox News who want to see who's winning. They don't care why they're winning. People just care that they're winning.
Rick, I want to freeze that.
Those are two different types of polls.
I want to freeze that right there. We're speaking with Rick Shafton, president of Neighborhood Research and Mountaintop Media. It's a perfect segue because he was speaking about demographics. Speaking of those, we got to pay a couple of bills here on K98. Rick, would you be kind enough to hold over and come back into the second segment with us on the other side of the break?
Sure.
Excellent. JD and Stacey here, Bloody Marys and Broadsheets, K98 Talk. Get in that K98Talk.com chat room. We'll see you in about 3 minutes.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
The feeling most people get when they hear Barack Obama's speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I don't have that too often.
Steady.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, will tackle the important issues facing America today as he tries to keep America from coming off the track. Get ready to hear the truth every Monday through Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, here on K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
There's a wild, wild whisper blowing in the wind, calling out my name like a long lost friend.
K98Talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
Welcome back to K98 Talk. JD and Stacey at Bloody Marys and Broadsheets. Coming back into the second segment, we've been nice enough to have this morning Mr. Rick Shafton. He is president of Neighborhood Research and Mountaintop Media. He is a professional political pollster as well as a fountain of information. You can follow him on social media on Twitter at Shafton. That's right, baby. That's like John Shafton and A-N, except I don't think when you hit the Twitter at, you get that cool Shaft music. Everybody get over to K98Talk.com right now. Get in the chat room. And remember, kids, once the show's over, you go to Spreaker.com, hashtag JD and Stacey, JD and Stacey, JD and Stacey. You can listen to what we've been up to all week. Okay, Rick, thank you for holding over, coming back into the second segment. Stacey, I think you said that that people in chat actually had some questions they had themselves for Rick, correct?
Correct. Rick, one person asked if polling has been at all affected by the fact that fewer and fewer people, I know I'm one of them, don't maintain landlines anymore and just go wireless. Are you as likely to be tapped if you're a cellular-only user?
Yes, because what happens is actually there used to be things known as unlisted phone numbers, but they don't exist anymore because everybody puts a phone number down on something, and then once you put it down, it becomes part of the database. So what happens is that cell phones, it's illegal to robocall cell phones, although I know of one vendor who thinks the law is unconstitutional and just does it anyway. But with our calls, they're live callers, and we can call cell phones. And in fact, if it's a primary election, especially a Republican primary, it's a little older, we'll still get about 15% of our calls will be on cell phones. In a general election, I've had one this past year. It was 31% of our calls were to cell phones. What has changed polling is caller ID, because it used to be we would complete a survey out of every 6 or 7 calls. Now it takes about 15, sometimes 20, sometimes even more than that to get a completed survey. So that's really the biggest change, is that our response rates have dropped, especially with younger people, and but it's still not as far off as one might think, because what I'm able to do when we're calling, we're working off a voter file. So I know we know that we've called an individual. We know where they live. We know their election district, what elections they voted in, and tons of consumer data. That's just unbelievable. I mean, we know if people are cat owners, whether they smoke cigarettes, whether they like soccer. I mean, it's all
whether they smoke cats.
It's like amazing whether you've contributed to candidates, whether you contributed to wildlife. It's like all kinds of things. How much you paid for your house.
Rick,
it's incredible, the data. So I can correlate this data against everything else, but we see that the voters who respond to these surveys are not really that much older than the people who vote in these elections that we're calling.
That's the question I had about cell phone specific, Rick. There are so many people that have cell phones that are under the age of 18. If it's a cell phone poll call, is the assumption automatically made that the number being called and the person answering is of voting age? How do you break out those hundreds of thousands?
We know that it's an individual who is of voting age because the phone number matches an individual, and so I have their their voter file, what elections they voted in, their phone number, and 100,000 other pieces of information about them. So yeah, we do know that when we're calling, every number we call, it has a registered voter who hits our screen, which might be they voted in the 2014 Republican primary, for example. So we know. So then, once we've gotten them on the phone, we ask, "Are you, the person on the other end, a voter?" And yes, I am. Please tell me your chances of voting in next February's Iowa caucus for president. Definite, very likely, somewhat likely, or not likely. And then if they say somewhat likely or not likely, we just thank them and call somebody else. So we want to find people who actually are going to vote, and that doesn't mean that that's exactly who's going to vote. Somebody may vote for the first time, or somebody may wake up caucus day and vote, or a friend may call them up and say, "I'm going to go vote in the caucus. Will you come with me?" And so it's just everything is relative to who you're calling. So it's a poll of who you called. Is that a representative group? Well, probably, but maybe not.
Mm-hmm. The other question one of the listeners had is, are there organizations that do polling or types of organizations over time that tend to be more accurate or use better methodology? For example, a lot of people, if you post PPP polls, public policy polls, they'll say that's a left-leaning organization, so we don't like them. But when you go back and look at their polling in 2012, they were one of the most accurate.
That's a good question.
Well, they can't call cell phones because they're robopolls, so they're accurate to the extent that of landlines that they've spoken with. But what happens is if you're not accurate, you're nailed and you're out of business. Mm-hmm. So we hear, 4 years ago, the polls are rigged. This idiot Dick Morris, back to him again. The polls are rigged.
No, tell us how you really feel, Rick.
To convince everybody. Yeah, I just have no respect for Dick Morris. I'm sorry. the polls are rigged to convince people that Romney's going to lose. No, the polls were exactly right. Mitt Romney was losing the election. Now, what we found after the first debate, Romney kind of got a surge a little bit. The other way, the 62 Mets won 9 games out of 12 in May and then proceeded to lose 17 in a row. That was Mitt Romney. So Mitt Romney had like a good little period there. He won 9 out of 12. He was doing pretty good. People thought maybe this guy won't be in the cellar. But no, it was, Mitt had to go true to form. But my surveys were showing Romney picking up. I only had him down, I think, 6 or 7 points in New Jersey right after that debate. But the thing is that pollsters are obsessed with being accurate because, first off, voters don't vote because of a poll. I mean, voters, if a candidate's getting crushed, they don't need a poll to know that the candidate's getting crushed. If it's a close race, a poll that says it's not a close race isn't going to influence anybody. And the classic example of that, by the way, is this poll everybody in the Romney campaign was pointing to. Oh, a poll came out and showed Reagan was losing 2 weeks out. That's right. One poll out of like 80 zillion came out and said Reagan was losing. Every other poll that was done since March had Reagan beating Carter. I mean, every poll had Reagan beating Carter from March on. It wasn't even like a question, except Gallup had one poll a week or so out that was just screwed up. And what happened was Gallup was eating that poll for a long time. Their credibility was really pretty hurt by it. So you don't stay in business. You can't sell your data to Fox News or CNN or whoever it is if you're not accurate, because those guys don't want to get burned. They're in business. They're not. People say, "Oh, Megyn Kelly hit Trump with these." These guys are in business to get ratings, and everything is about ratings and credibility.
Rick, from what you know and understand about it, I'm not asking you to make an opinion on the personality, but Nate Silver and 538 and the metrics that they use, do you find that that's something that the methodology itself you find to be solid, or is that something that you might question?
He's been pretty accurate, so that makes his methodology good, right?
No, I mean, that's how I look at it. Let me ask you a question. What could you and I know that each poll, as you explained it,
it's good until it's no longer accurate, and it's not good anymore.
Right. And again, like you said, it has a lot to do with the questions that are asked and the methodology. But for our audience, what are polls that you put more stock in than your average? Like, what is something that you would be comfortable recommending to your average person? Hey, if you're looking at this group's polling, they're generally a pretty solid organization. And could you name a couple that, in your experience, hey, I think those are kind of shaky?
I think anything that's been in business, any company that's been in business more than a couple of years that's still doing it. I mean, you don't see Research 2000 anymore. They got nailed for having bad data. Right. But everybody's going to get a survey that's going to be out. And here's how this margin of error probability thing all kind of works anyway. And those people who gamble, I'm a mathematician, so I never bought a lottery ticket. But if you get, the dice are going to throw 7 one time out of 6. So if I throw the dice 600 times, I should expect to get 7 100 times. But I might get it 93 times or 112 times or 103 times. It's just probability. And that's the same with the margin of error. So at some point, you're going to be within some range of probability. But if you're at 3% in the polls, you're not going to get 50% of the responses. So it's just over time, the law of averages just kicks in and brings everything back. That's why casinos want to keep you there for a long time, making lots of small bets.
Let me tell you something.
They don't want you to take all your money, put it down on the pass line or the don't pass line, and then whatever happens, you leave. That's the worst possible scenario. There's like a 49.7% chance you'll double your money. They don't want that. They want a 100% chance they're going to get all your money.
Rick, I am going to fund your airfare, lodging, food, and drinks the next time that I go. I have needed a Rick Shafton with me in a casino to go, hey, jackass. No.
We'll just go to the bar. Steaks and save all the money.
That's exactly, Rick. Where the hell have you been for the last
You can't
20
make money.
years?
You only make money in those places if you own them, and even then it's questionable. Look at Donald Trump.
Well, you know what's real? It's really funny about that. I remember the first time I went into a casino.
The government makes all the money. They get the money out of these things. That's the racket.
Well,
the government gets 100%.
It's true. It's just like the buildings in D.C. My father said to me the first time I went into a casino, I was 17 or 18. I thought this was great, and my old man said, "Look around. This is pretty nice stuff, isn't it?" I said, "Dad, are you kidding me? Look at this marble, da-da-da-da-da." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Everybody in here gambling bought that." And I was like, whoa. It's the same thing with D.C. and the buildings. Oh,
yeah,
Stacey,
yeah,
do you
exactly. It's all probability, and it's the same thing with campaigns. Well, will I win if I do this? I don't know. I don't know if you'll win or not. But the probability that you win is greater if you do X than if you don't do it. Right? That's what we try to find out. It's just probability, and what's the best move. And so a lot of times I will poll for candidates and tell them that there's no way you're going to win the election, or are you out of your mind, or maybe it's time to quit. I mean, you have to say that to people. There's just and because they're paying to get advice. So if you have to be honest with them and just tell them, "Size, it's just you shouldn't do this." And it's why I don't get referrals from other consultants either, because I'll go tell a client, "Don't." I had a guy who wanted to run for city council in Manhattan as a Republican. So I told it. I mean, there's a part of Manhattan that actually did elect Republicans for many years, the east side of Manhattan. Used to elect liberal Republicans, but they were Republicans. And actually even sometimes a little more than just rhinos. I mean, they were liberals, but they would occasionally throw a vote to when our side needed it, like the southern, like the John Barrow Democrats used to do, right, when they were around. But so I polled the district, and my response to the guy is, why don't you just run it as a Democrat? Run in the Democratic primary, because you're never going to win as a Republican. Although I couldn't tell him to run in the Democratic primary. The Democratic incumbent was very popular. She was popular with liberals. There was no path to victory. And I told this guy was going to spend like $1 million. It's like, if you spend $1 billion, you're not going to win. This is an area people are just not going to vote for any Republican, regardless of your views on anything. If you were to the left of the Democrats, you're not going to win because you're a Republican. And there's just a certain amount of people who will not vote for anybody. And there was no path to victory here. I mean, none at all. And Bloomberg was the mayor. Bloomberg was not popular in the district at the time. So there was just no angle. And sometimes that does happen. Sometimes I get the opposite. It's like, we can't lose if we tried. So then the response is that we don't need to spend $300,000 on TV ads.
Liberal New York City has been pissed off at Republicans since Abraham Lincoln and the draft riots. They've never gotten over that.
I'm sorry?
I said New York City liberals have been pissed off at the Republican Party since Abraham Lincoln and the draft riots. They've never gotten over that.
Well, actually, a lot of parts of New York did elect Republican. Remember, New York City, until de Blasio, had technically had Republican mayors for the previous 20 years. So 24 years, right, from 20 years, from 93 till 2013. You do get two-party government in places that are politically one way or another. It's why a state like Utah or Wyoming will elect a Democratic governor. Same kind of principle. Southern politics has become kind of racially polarized. I don't know that you'll have the same thing there, but you will have it within the two parties. Within the Democratic Party, you're going to have internal black politics taking place and big fights. And within the Republican Party, you're going to have your internal fights in the southern states, particularly similar to the fights you had within the Democratic Party when the South was one-party Democrat. And you had different factions in different states. Sometimes it was geographic, sometimes it was ideological. The Republican fights are definitely going to be more ideological, but it's what happens when you get into a one-party type system, is you get two parties within the one party.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we're seeing a lot of that.
We've been graced to have Mr. Rick Shafton this morning, president of Neighborhood Research and Mountaintop Media. Everybody, we have a big social media audience. Everybody go out to @Shafton on Twitter. Very easy. It's @ like Shaft, John Shaft, baby. Yeah, A-N. SHAFTAN. Rick, thank you so much for all the information and edification you've brought to the audience. I would ask sincerely that you would consider coming back not only during the primary but during the general to continue to lend context to the audience and maybe give them some context on things that
And anybody has questions, they can send me a note on Twitter, and I'll be happy to get back to them.
And be nice to Rick on Twitter, or Stacey and I will beat you up, kids. Rick, thank you very, very, very much.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.
Stacey, we have the best political guests in radio, do we not?
We do, and Rick is awesome.
He is. I'll tell you what, folks. You know what else is awesome? Paid advertising at the beginning and the end of the show. We got some bills to pay. We'll see you on the other side.
Hey everybody, this is Jason, host of According to Me. I'd like to invite you to check out my show. It's a 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes in... listen, I hate to interrupt, but one thing I can do is read off a script. Just say, let me be clear a lot. It works. President Obama, I can handle this. It's a radio promo. I'm not green. I've done this before. Did someone say green? Now, Al Gore is here. Listen, I'm just trying to record a radio promo. Do you mind? Now, do you say good things about me on the show? No, not at all. But if it makes you feel any better, I rip on Republicans just as much. The AM radio frequencies give off very high levels of radiation. Look, my show is on the internet, which you invented. Can I just do my promo? I got a pen. I can veto that, you know. I know you got a pen. It's not a law. It's a radio promo. Listen, just listen to my show. Barack Obama and Al Gore hate it, so you're going to love it. Here's an executive order. Don't listen to his show. He doesn't like me. He's racist. And he doesn't recycle either. That's it. I'm done. It's According to Me, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
Good, easy Sunday morning, and welcome back to K98 Talk, Bloody Marys and Broadsheets with JD and Stacey. Everybody right now, get over to K98Talk.com, get in the chat room, say hello to Stacey, pick up on the conversation. We'd like to thank our guest from this morning, Mr. Rick Shafton, president of Neighborhood Research and Mountaintop Media, companies that provide polling and media for conservatives with guts to win, baby. We got to put him in touch with that GOHconservative.com, baby. We're lucky, Stacey. That was a great guest, and I hope I couldn't get into chat this morning. I hope that a lot of the audience took something away from that.
Yeah, no. Rick has been doing this a long time, I personally think one of the things that's been missing from the current polling is exactly what he talked about, and that's the why. There's been a lot of speculation in the presidential polling about the why, but there hasn't really been a lot of data.
Did you say polling?
Polling.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.
Okay, I am now officially changing the word poll to surveying. So in the current surveys, there's not a lot of why behind them. How's that?
Did you say survey?
Mm-hmm.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.
I cannot win.
Oh, okay. We were just going to have Rick in the first segment, but he was actually such a great guest. We held him over for 2. So Stacey and I have an extra show in the can with piles of paper here. So just to shift gears and take it a little lighter, I don't know who has seen this, but there is a fantastic story about Airbnb. For those of you who don't know what Airbnb is, I've used it myself. It's a phenomenal service. People put up their homes, apartments, what have you. Sometimes they're just investment properties for people to stay in. But if you have people who are traveling for months at a time or things like that, when I was in the D.C. area, instead of staying at a hotel, you stay in a nice 4-bedroom townhouse. It's gorgeous. Well, I guess at some of these places, some of the people are there. So, from the New York Times.
I'm your number one fan.
Early in the evening of July 4th, Michaela Giles' mobile phone started sounding alerts, and a series of messages straight out of a horror movie began scrolling down her screen. Her 19-year-old son told her that his Airbnb host in Madrid had locked him in the 4th-floor apartment where he was supposed to be staying and removed the key. The host was still there, he said, rattling knives around in the drawers and pressing him to submit to a sexual act. I want to say this again. Locked him in the 4th floor apartment where he had paid and was supposed to be staying. Kind of went like this, probably.
Don't you do it! Don't you! I got nowhere else to go! I got nowhere else to go!
And before you thought the story couldn't get any better, his host, who was born male but is living as a woman, denied Mr. Lopez's accusations. She denied threatening him and said the sex act was consensual and that he is transphobic. If she is right, filing a false police report and telling the story publicly would be an unlikely way to bury a regrettable experience. Just finish this. When they arrived at her apartment and she locked him in, he said he repeatedly tried to kiss him. He rebuffed her, and then she ordered him to take off his pants unless he wanted to sleep in the streets without his belongings. When this man, who claimed this happened to him, was reached by JD and Stacey of K98 Talk for comment, he only had 2 things to say.
3 simple words. I am gay.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Where do we start with this? Where do we start with this? Where do we start with this? Because when I first sent you this headline and I go, how funny is this? This is going to be great. This is going to be like a misery type story. It's going to be funny. Some nut job locked him in a room. You know, it's going to be the whole number one fan thing.
I'm your number one fan.
Poll to you, Stacey, and everybody in the chat room. Who thinks my man went to stay with a tranny, got found out, and then said he was held hostage? This is the topic.
I don't know. I mean, do you really know that much about the owners when you're booking something on Airbnb?
Well, no, let me tell you something. The vetting process is pretty deep. Like, I've gone through it. I mean, for me, personally, listen to me. Everybody in the audience. Nobody is staying at one of these places where somebody else is. Unless they wanted to find a little surprise under the skirt. No? Now. JD did a little investigating. It just so happened that this gentleman, who was kept hostage by the LBGB PT on the KP or whatever it is, had used Airbnb in Brazil the year before. You know, Brazil is like tranny heaven.
I did not know that, but, you know, I mean, I guess I'm a mom of kids that, you know, are going to be 19, 20, 21. And if they were traveling overseas, there's no way in God's green earth I'd let them stay in an Airbnb.
This story is really making you uncomfortable, isn't it?
It doesn't just, I mean, it's not making me uncomfortable insofar
Okay,
as,
terrific.
you know, the elements of it, I just sit there and I look and I'm like, The thing that actually bothered me about the story is the service took no responsibility when the mother was receiving these texts and didn't do anything to advocate for them.
Well, because
I think I read it as, oh my God, this is horrible and really screwy. But I also read it as, okay, so how are Uber and Airbnb in this sharing economy going to handle this kind of stuff? Because they really took a hands-off approach.
That's true, but, when he called Airbnb, they confirmed to him over the phone that
it's not going to be an orgy. It's a toga party.
Oh, my God.
How'd you like to mow my lawn? Huh?
Yeah, I think what I learned from that story is that I'll just keep being a Hilton Gold member and stay in my nice little Hampton Inns.
No, why don't you come stay at my beautiful furnished apartment? I am
No.
in business. No,
No.
you will love it. You know what the B.
No.
You know what the B and the B stands for?
I don't.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.
Okay.
Can we mac on Sean Hannity now?
Oh my God! 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 No Trump phone call. Okay, so NBC, basically, the news media has turned into nothing more than.
No. Show you the money. Not show you. Show me the money. Show me the money. Yeah. Louder. Show me the money. That's it, brother. But you got to yell that shit. Show me the money. I need to feel you, Jerry. Show me the money. Jerry, you better yell. Show me the money.
All right, this isn't about news. This isn't about information. Why don't you speak a little bit about NBC and what was that? The last bit you had the
Hannity interview. Yeah. Basically, so NBC for years has been accused or pointed out as a leftist hack and really pushing the agenda of the political left. So the folks over at MSLSD have realized that this is not so good for ratings, so they are going to be more of a straight news org. Whether they can pull that off, I really don't know, especially after, the 2008 and 2012 elections. But in order to supplant their responsibility to drive the leftist media, now NBC Universal is dumping $400 million into Vox and BuzzFeed.
Yeah,
so they're basically paying what are unabashedly the most leftist organizations out there other than Media Matters and Think Progress to continue publishing their analysis and commentary that does nothing but support the political left and the most political left.
Ezra Klein and everybody at Juice Vox are nothing but a bunch of
vaginas
who are
boring.
With a couple minutes left in the show, did you want to try and make that call?
Do we really have time?
I don't know. Maybe for a question or two. You want to see if he's up this early?
Sure.
All right, hold on a second. Hold on, I got Mexicans fixing my hair. Mexicans in my hair. There'll be a wall at a door. Hello, I'm awesome.
You're awesome?
I'm awesome. Talk.
Well, just a few minutes here, Mr. Trump. What we want to do is go ahead and talk a little bit and play a little bit of a.
Hold on a second, lady. Hold on a second, lady. The Mexican people love me. Love me. They love. You know how I can prove this to you? Okay, all the Mexicans in my house, raise their hand. Look at this. Uno Mexican. Dos Mexican. There must be 106 Mexicans in my front lawn right now. Okay, go ahead. Question 2.
I'm sure we're going to play a little lightning round. So I'd just like to get your take when I mention someone's name.
I'm very rich, and Megyn Kelly's got a great ass.
President Obama.
Obama is going to like me very, very much because when he's done with his term, he will be at my golf courses because I have the best golf courses in the world. He's going to go off to greener pastures, I guess.
On Carly Fiorina.
Who?
Carly Fiorina.
I'm awesome. She's a fine woman, but it's not going to happen. She was viciously fired from Hewlett Packard, and the company still hasn't recovered. The stock went down to nothing. I'm awesome.
How about Joe Biden?
Who?
Joe Biden, the vice president.
Is he the one that touches the little girls? I'll tell you what. I know something about touching little girls. Well, you want to know what? There's another one. There are 107 Mexicans on my front lawn right now because the Mexicans love some Donald Trump. They do. What was the question? I don't remember. Megyn Kelly has the green ass. Vote Trump. That was a hell of a phone
Joe
call.
Biden.
I can't believe we got him on the phone. I think he hung up.
Oh, okay.
Okay, terrific.
No, guys, if you did not see Maureen Dowd's column in the New York Times called A Lightning Round with Donald Trump, I will be happy to tweet it out again. The first two answers JD gave were actually direct quotes from the Trump man himself. I read this thing and I'm like, what an incredible dose of word salad. I mean, there is zero substance about anything in there. The best one on Elizabeth Warren. She's caught a little wave. Perhaps it's her Indian upbringing.
Oh my God! You cannot make this up. That was a jam-packed hour. We want to thank our special guest, Rick Shafton from the President of Neighborhood Research and Mountaintop Media, for giving our audience some great context on polling. We want to thank you for being up early with us, having some booze in your coffee, and enjoying some fun on a Sunday morning. Stacey, what are you going to be doing till Tuesday?
Trying to get over this neck pain that I have and probably staying pretty well medicated.
You know, I happen to stay medicated as a general rule, but JD, along with the rest of the listening audience, is going to be wishing Stacey a very, very happy and soon return.
Where you're
See you
here
Tuesday night,
from your
kids.
weekly news hangover.
Thank you for taking it easy with us. You can find our show account on Twitter at JD and Stacey, or send us your interesting news story of the week to Game On War, that's WAAR, @gmail.com.
And you can find me on Twitter at ScottsFire and on Facebook at Stacey Lennox.
And you can find me on the Twitters at GameOnJD.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.